Alright, how's everybody doing? Today I'm going to do an overview of actually upgrading the B&O sound system in the Audi S3. This is a 2015 Audi S3, and it has, this is the stock B&O little pancake subwoofer that's in the rear deck. And I'm going to go over how to remove this, you know, some of the procedure for that. And then what I'm going to be replacing it with is a Hertz high energy 10-inch dual voice coil sub. I got dual 4-ohm voice coils, and I'm going to be running it at 2 ohms bridged. I'm going to be running a really small Audison amp, AP1D. At 2 ohms, it's about 540 watts, which is probably like a max power rating. But this is a good, clean power delivered, tight controlled bass to the sub. And then I have little things. This is how I'm going to capture my signal. I'm going to take the signal from the subwoofer output, so I can still use my subwoofer control in the B&O system on the head unit, and I'm gonna, hopefully that signal is gonna be clean enough and have a good signal of frequency to drive the sub. And then I went ahead and bought a 4-gauge power kit to run from the battery back to the back, because I'm thinking about a future upgrade, possibly the whole system. So I just wanted to get this run now, so I wouldn't have to pull up all those seals, so to say, tear into the car and go through the firewall again. These are just some RCA extenders and stuff. That's how I'm going to grab the RCA signal out and into the amp. This sub is too big to fit in the rear deck and drop in. It's too tall, and it's too big of a hole. This is too big for the hole, and I would actually have to carve out the back deck and everything to do that. I'm not worried about this protruding into the trunk, so I'm going to mount it up underneath. But I'm going to do some soundproofing on the rear deck with some like dynamite type material and some foam to cut down on rattles. And then I'll be mounting the amp probably hidden behind one of the walls in the back, and I'll just go over some of those things in the video too. So hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. Alright, so I got the rear deck out of the car. I'm going to show you inside, but just a quick overview of this. This is the side pillar that fits in here. These have to come out first in order to take the rear deck out. You just simply pull these out just a little, and then you put in like a little flathead screwdriver to pinch these and pull this out the rest of the way. So with this in, this is directly above where this logo is, and this is. Basically this is kind of this pops out at the bottom, and then this just cantilevers down, and then this is locked in, so it just gets pulled straight out, and these all are locked in. It's actually really easy to remove this piece. So once you have the sides out, then you have to pry underneath these speaker grills. These house a little back speaker, and this is the pass-through for the sub right here. And once these just pressure fit off, these are all just pressure fitted points, there'll be some screws holding this down on this side. I think these actually go into the top of the sub to keep the deck nice and tight. And in order to remove this deck out, it is literally just snapped in. These are like little pressure fit clips right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is really, really stiff. So literally you just pull straight up on this, and you'll hear them all snap off. You might have to work your way across, and then you pull straight out, you know, from underneath the back windshield. These just press in and lock on the back. Now I'll show you inside the actual rear deck, and I'll show you these spots right here and where these slide into, and where the side pillars were. Alright, so here's the rear deck with the side panels out. So basically I'm having a hard time getting this tight. These are where those little grooves are right here, these little perpendicular to the car grooves. Those are where they'll snap into, and then the other back grooves just push into those. And then the sub is just simply bolted out. I might have to turn this to fit this in here. 3 bolts hold the sub in. And then it's just, you know, some power wires to disconnect. It's not that hard. What I decided to do was try to put the Audison amp in this empty space over here. I believe that is space for the actual amp for some of the maybe the factory system or something, but it's a completely empty assembly, and the little amp will fit in there good. So I need to take this side panel out. So I've started by taking the trunk floor out, and I have to remove this panel. These just go underneath, pop up. It has some press-in things, and then these have some press-in things you got to remove, and then this whole panel will come out. And I'm going to run the 4-gauge wire from the engine bay up to here. I'll show you where I go through the firewall, and then get it terminated over here and put the amp in here. All right, these are the little clips that you would use for like a cargo net and stuff. Basically, you pry and pop the top out, and then there's a little, you can push this down with a little flathead screwdriver, and this flips down. Once that flips down, you're going to use a T25 Torx and just unscrew this, and the whole assembly just comes out. Some people will probably be baffled by it. You don't want to break these. I bet you they cost 20 bucks, if not more. All right, once you get those two clips out that for the cargo net, this is pretty straightforward. Some of this side panel trim is tucked up underneath the rubber mat trunk seal, and then you have two press-in clips that actually come out real easy. Just always want to make sure that you have these, that they're not left in the car, especially for reassembling. And you want to make sure they're still in this nice triangle shape and not been pressed down and flat. They're really inexpensive to replace. You might be able to get them at the auto parts store instead of from the dealer. They do need to snap in tight or they'll rattle. So either use them correctly or don't have them in there at all if you're worried about it. And this is a nice rattly area against some. This would be nice to put foam padding on. Anyways, over here in this cubby is where I'm going to try to put the amp. This just comes out. Since I know this is an aggravating for a lot of people running the power wire through the firewall, right above where like a clutch would normally be on a 6-shift car, there's a little plug, and this is a quick pass-through right through the firewall. This is the outside and this is the inside, and I actually did it from the inside and make it a little harder to put back in, but I can do it. And what I did was I just put my little reacher tool from the inside to the outside of the engine compartment, and it fed up and it came out right by the battery, and then I just duct taped my big 4-gauge wire right to it and pulled it through. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to drill a hole in this one spot, and then I'm going to pull this wire through in the direction it's facing here, and then I'll put some silicone around it, and I'll probably layer a piece of Dynamat over it too, just to make sure nothing escapes through it. All right, this is the kick panel on the driver's side where the hood release is. And in order to really get that big gigantic 4-gauge wire through there really carefully, I'm taking out all the side seals down the side of the car and this. So you know how to get this out. A lot of this would aggravate a lot of people. This uses like an old-fashioned hand crank window type thing. And you can just get behind here and pull this little clip out. And then this just pulls out off the stub that's there in the car. It just kind of pressure fits around it. This is a little piece that I pulled out. So to re-put this in, you can actually do this usually, and then snap this down over it. If not, you'll snap it and then add that piece in. It's easy to get to. And then there's also one single Torx screw holding this panel in. And then the trim that goes above it here, like the side access panel, I take it off and the trim above it because it's clipped into it here. So other than that, I just got simple plastic pressure fits in, nothing else, no metal clips. Because the door seal goes over this one, has the metal clip. So what I did was I did just a factory ground right here. I bare metal, and then I bolted it. There's a bolt underneath the car holding that tight. And then you can see where the power wire runs in and back to this. And then this whole assembly just goes in the factory snaps. Nice and tight. Get the cover put on here and be good to go. Let me show you the sub really quick. So that the future, for everybody who knows, we got a -1 on the outside, and then the next one in is a +2, and then we got the -2 and the +1. This is all metered across, so we made sure +1 and +2 and all the wires are correct. So I tapped off the factory, cut these, soldered them together, tapped off the factory, and then brought that into that line level converter. Alright guys, I wanted to show you my redesign on how I was going to do the amp rack. I ended up taking this vertical wall that was all messed up looking over here out. I wanted to retain this factory clip up here, and then I got these 3 clips on the bottom where this thing slides in, because I need this pocket still for a factory piece, one of the navigation pieces or something. And then I made this little plate out of 1/2-inch wood and carpeted it. And I made another one up here to get a flat level surface, because this is where my line level converter is going to go. And it'll jump the RCAs right down into the amp. It's going to be way up here. There might be even room for a second amp in the future, but that's not why I built it like this. Just to give it plenty of clearance, and this will also give me room to wire up into here. So I'll show you this installed in the car here in a minute. Alright guys, I'm getting ready to do some reassembling here. About ready to put the side panels back in. And I just wanted to show you the amp assembly all mounted up nice and firm. Using this factory push-in, the factory thing. This all nice and tidy now. And as I go to reassemble the side panels, let me make sure the camera sees it here. You know, these little plastic metal little clips snap into here. Well, I got my first bent one as I went in on the other side, and not my first Volkswagen I've messed with. I ordered a whole bag once just to have them. They're not exactly identical, but they work just the same, and never hurts to have a few of them around. If you're not paying attention, it's easy to bend them. I started in the rear deck. I removed the trunk light and just hardwired some LEDs into it and stuck them up underneath the rear deck, but not important. What's important is I got about 10 sheets of this Damplifier Pro second skin soundproofing material. I've used it in many cars. It doesn't give off an odor and it sticks really well and it works really good. So I'm going to do a layer or two on the rear deck just to kind of seal it up and kill some rattles. I'll get a picture real quick of the rear deck if I can fit the camera in there. Tucked away in the side panel, and the processor is above it. And then the sub, what I did was I made a big panel, a wider, bigger, thicker panel. That's for the main support. And then I did just a cosmetic piece, and that is actually so that the sub can hang from it and have enough airspace between the sub and the rear deck so the sub can move. And this is just temporary. This sub is not intended to be free air. And I got some strip lights up there since I had to cover the factory light. Alright, so some of the big challenges of the install was running the wire from the engine bay to the back. Just take your time dismantling the car. It's all standard pressure clips. It's no fancy double release, weird Volkswagen Audi clips coming back. And they're pretty straightforward. They're not really hidden or anything like that. We'll get an enclosure built, and I'll follow up with this video with an actual sub enclosure. I don't know exactly what I'm going to build yet, and I'll have a follow-up. I just wanted to get everybody my impression of this thing. It does pound. It really does pound. 540 watts at 2 ohms is what this sub is. It's dual voice coil 4 ohms. And that little Audison amp really rocks. And it's hidden and it's out of the way. But like I said, this deserves a box around it. There's too many air gaps around between the trunk and the inside of the car. From the arms here coming up into there, there's no way to seal those off. It cancels out bass. It makes the bass muddy. I actually had a little kicker tin in a sub box, in a truck box I put in here, and it way out pounded this, but it was way too much bass than I needed. So once this gets a proper enclosure built, this thing will sound great. This is, by myself, a full weekend project, 2 semi-long days of work to get it done. I didn't really run into any hurdles, but I'm just working by myself and casually and taking a break here and there. So just so you know, this is definitely a weekend project, but that's with experience. I've taken lots of cars apart. So thanks for watching this video this long, and I'll do a follow-up video of the box when it's built.